on the ability of people to demonstrably use their computers to access the internet, demonstrably avail themselves of technology at a lower price, and so forth.
So you were dabbling actually in the politics of...
I'd actually call it more like a legal and historical assessment.
Okay.
Well, hello, and
We're
welcome
looking
to
at
the
it from the
stream.
perspective of 1976 forward.
All right. Does this person in any way have any connection to Colonel Corso?
Roswell technology.
It's interesting because we had not heard of Colonel Corso until several months into the investigation at American Computer. We are not, or were not at the time, very knowledgeable about the whole, shall we call it, investigative aspect of the ufology and ETI industry. It actually came as a surprise to learn that there was actually someone else who was making similar kinds of allegations, albeit from a different time period looking backwards in time, and also from the context of having had personal involvement in the alleged transmission of materials directly to companies like AT&T and GE, supposedly.
All right. Well, this consultant at some point then actually brought to you physical stuff.
Yeah, that's where it gets a little bit strange, actually, because I told him, frankly, as much as I respected his position, that I didn't believe that any of this was so, that it couldn't be true, because, I had grown up in the shadow of Bell Laboratories.
Well, hello, and welcome to the
Bell
stream.
Labs Semiconductor Division in Bell Labs itself. I went to a private high school where my best friend in high school and college was the son of the man who was then essentially the de facto head of the transistor project, and before that, a project to produce something called a vacuum tryout, a close-spaced vacuum tryout that made broadcast radio and broadcast television on a nationwide basis a possibility.
Right.
And I was actually literally dumbfounded by the suggestion.
Can you tell us anything about the consultant's connections? In other words, from where this material came, where he got the information? Does he give any of that to you?
Well, initially, he explained it to me that he had had a lot of contact with the chairperson of Bell Labs during the time period, heads of various projects, and subsequently, he had consulted to them in a kind of advisory capacity as they prepared for the breakup of the Bell system. And he indicated that he'd been taken really into some of the innermost circles of this huge, actually incredibly huge Bell system that existed prior to its deregulation and breakup at the outset of the 80s. And he, in that decade before, he had several contacts with them that, in fact, included, he indicated, evaluation of technology for which, in private conversations that he had with certain key executives, he at least stated that they knew that it, in fact, had not come from any form of earthly engineering or research.
The original transistor.
Well, not just the original transistor, but a successive series of technological evolutionary developments that had been directed within the lab's environment by the study of extra-worldly properties.
All right. Why would the consultant have brought the transcapacitor technology to you instead of Bell Labs or one of their subsidiaries? In other words, you're a pretty good-sized company, Jack, no question about that, but you're not Bell Labs.
Correct. Well, actually, I guess we aren't the size of Bell Labs. However, we have some unique properties that Bell Labs have, one of which is the ability to, not necessarily particularly from the scientific research perspective, but from the, shall we say, intuitive perspective,
Right.
the ability to divorce ourselves from the politics and from the ministerial marketing representations that make a corporation what it appears to be to the public, and having much of the same scientific and research background and contact, albeit not on a scale, obviously huge, well-respected research. I guess he felt that he trusted that our treatment of it would be A, truthful, and B, thorough. That we would do everything in our power to evaluate and investigate if the allegations that had been
imagine that coming from you, though, such an announcement would be in many quarters disbelieved and doubted simply because of the size of your company. Coming from Bell Labs, big deal.
Well, that would be a fair assessment in some quarters. However, I think, frankly, these allegations at this particular juncture, without the final assessment as to whether they are, in fact, 100% accurate or not, whether we announce them to the public that these have been claims that were made to us and we'll investigate them, or whether Bell Labs did, we felt that they would, in fact, no matter who announced them, they would be treated with a certain degree of incredulity. In fact, a substantial degree of incredulity.
Well, that had been. When did you actually receive the device known as the transcapacitor?
Well, it wasn't given to us as a device. What happened is, after a period of time during which I had very bluntly stated to the consultant that I was disinterested in pursuing any course of investigation.
In other words, cough up something physical or go away.
There is something that would, in fact, entice me into believing that this was anything more than just hearsay.
Of course.
He came back to us with a very succinct sampling of materials that were from an outside source, whom he described as a genuine and very, very careful pack rat. I think you know what I mean by a pack rat, one of those people who accumulates just about anything and everything around them and keeps them in his home or her home.
I'm one of them, so I know.
I heard that by reputation, Arby, as a way of pulling things out of your hat that nobody remembers ever having existed.
I have a closet here when you open it could fall on somebody and kill him.
Well, hope not. In any event,
So the pack rat.
the pack.
Sometimes people ask me, how do you command respect? Take the notebook, as it was called, the aggregation of materials representing your ongoing research, load it onto a rolling cart and would disappear with it. No instructions, no directions, just an invitation to attend a meeting the next Monday or Tuesday, at which time you would appear. There would be 2 or 3 individuals, and you would be given a new project. You would never return to the office or lab where you were, and you would now be assigned to a new project. No pat on the back for any work performed, no pink slip, nothing. You were just basically fired off that project. Well, apparently, this particular book or notebook, which really is more than just a notebook, it's sort of like a notebook in the analogy of the entire set of shop manuals for the old General Motors cars. A long collection that literally would have fit into 1 or 2 cell phones.
The notebook documenting all of this hardware.
The notebook documenting not just the transcab, but also a series of great books
Come on, everybody, put your hands together.
given to Bell Labs. To them.
Any idea who authored
Well, actually, portions of it have people's names like D. Llewellyn comes up quite frequently. They do appear to be a mixture of not just research people in the Bell Labs context, but they also appear to be people from some military research apparatus, and possibly even people from other companies who are coming in as visiting consultative scientists.
As a regular businessman with a regular IBM computer type company, you had to have been utterly blown away by all of this. I remember the first tentative websites that you had up about this. We sort of tentatively asked people questions
subject matter that ordinarily we would have thought of as being out there, I guess is the term.
So was it kind of a plea on your part to say, look, is the whole Roswell thing real? Is there really something to this, knowing all the time that you have more that you were wondering about, you just sort of wanted to verify the whole story?
I think we started to look at it as a satirical and possibly slightly historical. Perhaps even to some degree we tried to make it look a little humorous.
There was quite a bit of satire in the early websites.
We really didn't, I mean, it still is like this. The point was we didn't know how the public would react. We found out, but we had no idea. But we took it upon ourselves sort of courageously, in a way, to at least try to kick the tires on the subject matter, if you will.
All right, kick the tires is what we'll do when we come back. We're going to break here at the bottom of the hour, Jack.
That's what I'm talking about. We're going to break right here. And we're going to play that bumper music about 5 minutes.
Once again, here I am. We're going to kick the tires on the trans capacitor in a moment. Right now to Jack Shulman of the American Computer Company, which possesses something called the trans capacitor, back engineered from alien technology, ostensibly from a crash near Roswell, New Mexico in 1947. Jack, what exactly, I understand what a transistor is. I'm a little bit into electronics here. The yes-no gates, I have a basic concept of what it is. What is a trans capacitor?
It's actually quite a very surprising series of concepts rolled into a device. The way the transistor works, as I think many people know, is by having 3 components layered together. The middle component can cause power to pass between the outer 2 by varying a voltage to it. Really, that's all it does. It acts like an on-off switch, or it acts like an amplifier. We were, in fact, stunned to find amongst the drawings a described device that had propensities for gathering charge and being able to modify that charge in a way that was readable by electronic circuitry that was approximately the same size as a transistor, give or take a few microns, and had a few more ways of power entering and leaving within a transistor, using a slightly different, what appeared to the researchers at the time in the late 40s, mix of mineral, chemical, paper, substance, and rock.
Sure.
Ultimately, which by very subtle variations of current caused it to change the electropolarity of charges within it, such that its energy levels could be read to be at different gradients in a range that ranged in a number field, if you were to kind of break it down into a number, from
1 to, say, 10 to the 23rd power parts. That would be 10 with 23rd zeros strung after it. In other words,
All right.
a single component can store a number that large.
All right. So then, could we draw this parallel that if a transistor says yes and no, a transcapacitor has gradients of it. It doesn't say a complete yes or a complete no. It will give you gradients of that, allowing for decision making.
Well, it's interesting because it does work analogistically. We looked at it. It works in a way not too dissimilar from the way we think the rods and cones of an eyeball, the human eye work, by storing gradients of light. Although in this particular case, it's not storing light. It's dealing with predominantly electromagnetic memory.
All right, then could we slap this analogy on it? That if a transistor is black and white, this has every shade in between.
Yeah, I think that's a good one, a very, very good analogy, because if you were to take a look at it, if the old-style television camera could only record a black or a white image, the human eyeball could, in fact, store, or actually examine and analyze and store a memory of color images.
That does make sense.
Yeah, and what's fascinating about it is it does it very, very fast. It works at speeds that were at first to us unthinkable until we realized it's really just making subtle changes in the way it stores the electrons within its matrix. So it doesn't require a lot of energy. It doesn't require a lot of time. It's so surprisingly innovative that we're not entirely certain. Frankly, was not, in fact, exploited by the researchers defined functionally what they thought it did at the time. Other than that they may not at the time have had the sophistication enough.
They may not have been ready.
To realize, they may not have realized how this thing could interface with other, what we think of today as common components like the transistor, the resistor, the capacitor, and so forth.
All right, so the public might understand. I think we've given them that part at least to understand. Now, what would the practical application of a transcapacitor be? And I can only imagine you've begun to explore practical application, but how could you use it?
Well, what's really attracted us to usage in what we call common memory computer is that without the sort of extra componentry that a transistor requires, like a resistor, possibly a capacitor, it can store, or a transistor, for instance, can store a value of 0 or 1, or in the case of some that have been developed by Bell or Sandia or Sandia National Laboratories or IBM, and recently IBM worked on some copper-based circuits. They could developed a transistor that could store 7 or 10 or a value from 0 to 16 perhaps. By comparison, the gradients of this device, operating analogously to the human eye, which is color, a rod for kinds of rod, it could store a number that was as large as 10 with 23 zeros after. In fact, larger. In binary terms, we call the size of what it can store somewhere in the neighborhood of about 512 transistors, or even potentially more, in one device. So, one little component.
So, take today's disk drive or today's read-only memory in a computer, or give me some
analogy.
Yep.
I think the working analogy, the working that we explained at this particular juncture, would be take a look at the common, everyday, ordinary mouse that we use to access a computer, the one that we use with that little I-beam or the little arrow around on a computer terminal screen, or sure, a couple of personal computers. And imagine something without size storing hundreds of buildings of information, 90 billion characters of information, million characters of information, not million, billion.
Well, we're imagining a mouse as a storage device.
In a way, but I didn't mean to suggest that it was...
You mean size? Size-wise.
We've tried to say the same size as a disk drive in a personal computer.
Right.
But people don't know what that means. They think that that's the big red box next to the computer. So we're saying something that is approximately the size of a man's wallet, perhaps a little bit thicker.
Would store, typically now, if you get a high-end computer, you might get a a 4 or a 5 or a
7 gigabyte.
Yeah, you might get something in that range. What will the transcapacitor offer in a similar size?
If we were to make one that was fully as dense as possible, in that size, we'd be talking about something in the neighborhood of about 2 to 4 terabytes.
Oh my God.
That's an extra 3 digits, if you will, an extra large, huge amount of information that a personal computer-sized one could store all the information we presently have. In fact, we've estimated that you could take the entire World Wide Web, all those World Wide Web websites that everybody wants to see out there.
Yes.
Like yours, right?
We just linked yours, Bob.
Yours is what, outbell.com?
That's right.
And ours, of course, is accpc.com. And you could take the entire web and put it into something the size of a small desk. And because of its speed, you could, if you had one of these advanced terahertz communications that they systems that they're producing supposedly at recent labs, you could run that terahertz communications wire from one to another one in California, if you were in New York, and transmit the entire thing from New York, maybe the entire World Wide Web's content of information, all the way to California in only a matter of minutes.
What about speed? Today I think we're coming up, IBM is rushing 333 megahertz commercially right now. What would the transcapacitor do for processor speed, if anything?
We have actually measured individual components in a speed lately of something like 6.6 billion bits of information per second.
6.6 million. How does that translate to a megahertz clock speed?
Well, that's the 333 million megahertz, or million, compares to 6.6 billion, and I guess up 20 times the speed of a Pentium 2, 333. So it has that capability. However, we're running into an area now where we're missing a few other components that might be necessary to keep up with it to get a CPU to run at that speed.
Yeah, including no software that would do.
We're talking about a whole world of different software.
Now, supposedly, if we stop and imagine for a moment, that kind of speed, that kind of storage, don't we begin to approach the possibility of sentience?
You mean intelligence just because of the speed?
Speed and storage,
It's comparable to human memory capacity.
Precisely.
That I think is very accurate. But frankly, I'm surprised no one had in fact suggested to me that analogy in the last, let's say, 2 months. We had suggested that this thing operates not unlike a neural connective device. Are you familiar with neural networks?
I am, yes.
Yeah, well, a neural network for the public's sake is nothing more than an array of switches that turn on or off depending upon what a program recognizes as, say, a situation. And later on can then be used to make the same kind of a decision that one might make given the same type of situation. That's the analogy that's used. The decision-making matrix, if you will. There are thousands of different types of so-called neural networks, but frankly, up until now, they've been rather small. As we looked further or deeper into the description of this device, we realized at some point that this transcapacitor was used in arrays so large, not just because it could store information, but we discovered that some of the elements of communicating with the transcapacitor were designed to crosstalk between matrices of transcapacitors. Initially, we didn't build our prototypical board to try to develop this thing that way, but we gradually tried to construct a means by which you would use this communication capability between transcapacitors. And then one day the world just came clear to us that the reason why there are extra leads on this device for cross communication between its peers in a huge array is because it appears as if it was used in some kind of a neural connectionist computing device.
All right, I want to read you something very quickly to see if it has relevance. I just got this. It's entitled "Scientists Grow Brain Cells on a Microchip." Brain cells have been grown on a microchip to create a simple brain to study how the real thing works and how easy it's going to be to connect computers to the human nervous system. The work reported yesterday to the New Orleans conference is part of an effort to merge the world's two dominant forms of information processing the neurons in your brain is using to read this sentence in electronics. In the wake of pioneering work conducted in Germany, the University of California at San Diego told me that they had developed a neural chip, a device for growing rat neurons in a silicon chip that could one day help restore vision, reconnect nerves, or control an artificial limb. So, in other words, a connection between not human but rat brain neurons and a chip, actual neurons grown on a chip. With great implications to what you're talking about, the transcapacitor, which is an obvious, more of a sophisticated interface for this kind of work.
Well, I think that's extremely interesting because I get the distinct impression from the documents that I've looked at that this neural connectionist type of machine that was built from transcapacitors had a biological interface on it. It was apparently intended to augment the capabilities of a typical, of a sentient species.
Look, I understand that your business, American Computer Company, was broken into. Now, when did that occur? And as a result of what do you think? Why did they break into your business, Jack?
Well, I'll tell you, that was not a very pleasant experience, Art. It was at the tail end of July, about a week after we posted the sort of tentative article you talked about.
Right.
A little over a week, couple days ago. And I would say about mid to late that week, we received a very, very strange facsimile transmission in our emergency tech support department at American Computer. It was something that came off some kind of a computing system. Well, I shouldn't say some kind, because that would suggest I don't know what computer system. It came off of what looked like one of our embedded computing systems.
Right.
Something that could be used for ground development or airborne development, like control system or object control system. And it had apparently, either by mistake or by intent, sent us a transmission describing some kind of an orbital space platform that's known by the code name Sky Station.
Okay.
And this platform, which we have since learned is some kind of a weapons-based platform. because we've had consultants who work for us on professional services who work at Never heard of the company. This calls in the evening hours, and it sounds like someone who is either pulling some kind of scam or someone who's trying to figure out some secret military information, maybe somebody who we should send out from another arrest. So we spent about half an hour on the phone, and I'm now driving along in my car with my car phone talking to this guy, and he's telling me after a while, okay, he'll put me through to somebody. I get through to somebody and I get the first 3 words of the facts out of my mouth, and he interrupts me. He tells me I should pull over by the side of the road. He tells me I should take this fax and I should secure it by whatever means I can. He asks me to read the codes off of it, and then he tells me I shouldn't share it with anybody, and that I should keep it secure and someone will pick it up later. Right, okay, I said, okay. An individual, he somehow managed to reach me on my phone out of nowhere, somebody gave me my phone number, so he's got to call back.
At this point, they have your attention.
Oh, yeah. And so I continue with the facts. I get home and I keep it. I go to work the next day. Business as usual. I turned off the code the way through the day. I'm beginning to get curious. Why hasn't anyone called me to pick up whatever they sold?
All right, that is a perfect place to hang the audience up, because that's what we're going to do. We're going to hang them up right here. Jack, transfer from one side of the country to the other the contents of the entire